Hello, Troy A, Shadowing Tronics, taking part in the Soundoff challenge, and it appears that once again I may be the only one, which is very disappointing. Um, Here's the thing: I've run a website, I've got a YouTube channel. When it comes to talking about my thoughts on creating comics, I can do that anytime I want. The thing about Art Soundoff and why I like taking part in so much isn't just the fact that I'm sitting here talking. I do that. I write articles. I talk about my stuff now and then. But with Art Soundoff, let me explain. I'm basically here by myself. And my dad's here, but he doesn't talk about storytelling or things about making storytelling. He doesn't. Still having congestion issues. He doesn't talk about storytelling the way I do. None of my friends, none of my family members really think about storytelling the way that I do. Without Art Soundoff, there are people who, when this thing was going on, did look at those things the same way. We're creators. They could talk about why we do things, why we write things, why we draw things. And what I really liked was having these other participants that I could hear their thoughts on. Sometimes they respond to something I said. Sometimes I respond to something they said. Remember, as far as the legacy of Art Soundoff goes, I'm the biggest rank amateur of the bunch. I've only started really focusing on drawing recently. My big focus for years was just on the writing side. I liked drawing, but I never really thought about the artistic side of it until recently. Part of that was thanks to the Lena Artcast. Um, I have a cough button. Or hit the pause button. I can do that. Let me try to hang on something. Yeah, I'll do that when I start coughing again. But with Arsenal, I was kind of engaging in the conversation that I don't get to otherwise. I can maybe catch a live stream, but a lot of the people that I follow are really more interested in discussing like the current internet drama and this and that group and what they're doing and what they're not doing. And some of those conversations are fun. I do learn from that because I learn to respect my readers, respect people who enter my work, and respect the stuff that I'm doing. But just the pure artistic discussion, I don't get to be a part of that. And because I don't know anybody in my area I can meet with and discuss that with. And, it's interesting to discuss the current events and stuff. I'm not talking about Art Soundoff but I'm not talking about that in Art Soundoff. Art Soundoff is just about the art of making a comic. And I don't have anybody to discuss that stuff with. Doing Art Soundoff and having all these other creators, I have that. My picture keeps freezing. Sorry about that. Hopefully the audio is not joining it. And I don't have that now. I didn't have that last year, and I don't seem to have that this year. It's like when Jersey and Rob stopped doing Art Soundoff and stopped doing the Artcast, nobody else thought about doing it in November. So the interest kind of died off. And I was kind of hoping this year I could maybe get some more people on it, but only one person watched the last video as I'm recording this, and nobody else is taking part of stuff. You see the posts here are the ones that I made, the people that I tagged, and the Art Soundoff post itself. And I get the feeling that's going to happen all month, which means the reason that I do Art Soundoff is kind of lost. When I can discuss the art story, and I do now and then write about my progress, or I was doing the I'm still working on the world building project for Captain Yuletide, which I would like to get back to once I finish this year's art comic. Um, I did a vlog, or I did an article, or I would do an article talking about that. I've got a whole section on my finished, one section for Jake and Leon, and one section for all my other comic and art stuff, as archived on my site, along with all the articles and videos and stuff I get from elsewhere. So I have an outlet for me just talking, but the feedback, the hearing what other people do, without talking about the current internet drama on devices, just the pure conversation is kind of lost. So the reason I do Art Soundoff, the reason I like Art Soundoff, just isn't there this year. It wasn't there last year. And I'm kind of thinking, if I go through again this year and there's no feedback, if the reason for doing Art Soundoff doesn't show up this year, I may stop doing Art Soundoff. I might still do videos talking about stuff that I'm thinking about artistically, what I'm creating. But as far as dedicating a month to doing a bunch of vlogs talking about this thing and what Art Soundoff is, um, I may just not end up doing it anymore. Because if nobody's paying attention, there's not really a point of doing it. That's why I stopped doing the Patreon. That's why, I haven't. Well, there's no support for it. Why am I doing it? At least with my website, with the YouTube stuff, it's stuff I'm doing for fun. This I'm doing because I like talking about this stuff, but I can do that anytime. It's the feedback that I'm missing. And if I don't see it, then I just might not do it anymore. Which makes me sad, but what are you going to do? So, will this be the last Art Soundoff? Or this month be the last Art Soundoff? I don't know. That's why I really want to get some feedback out there. I don't care if you're doing the podcast. I don't care if you're doing a video or an audio blog. Just put something out there. Instead of talking about, just talk about what inspires you, what makes you want to create. I really want to get that feedback going. I want that discussion that I don't have in my life. And the rest of Art Soundoff for me this year, and I do it on the weekdays, is going to be me talking about a picture frozen again. Is going to be about me talking about the stuff that I'm creating, the stuff that I'm working on outside of working on count outside of the article and stuff. Basically, what I'm doing with my comics, the project they talked about yesterday, and the rest of that here. But this is kind of my last appeal to get other people involved in the Art Soundoff Challenge. Because there's a reason I do it, and that reason seems to be gone. So I could be doing this time creating. But we'll see if I can set some kind of spark going. And I'm going to end each of these Art Soundoffs by sort of doing a shout out to people who do talk about just the pure creation, because I find that fascinating. Who discusses the actual art, the kind of stuff that we're talking about in Art Soundoff. And today I'd like to point to the YouTube channel Grip Panel Naked and Hassan. I can never understand how he says his last name. I can't never understand his last name, but Strip Panel Naked is a great YouTube channel where he goes over some of the tricks that artists have pulled to put together a story, writer together upon a story to really sell that passage of time and to sell the action and to really make the comic stand out. Not just using the tricks, but how they use the tricks and why the tricks work for that scene, because it may not necessarily work for what you're doing. This is why all the people imitating Watchmen are doing it wrong. So check out Strip Panel Naked here on YouTube. I will be back tomorrow with another art sound off. And until then, I wish you all, here, happy creating.